Good evening, and in your business news, 2 vessels filled with locally produced goods have set sail from the Durban harbour earlier today under the African Continental Free Trade Area's preferential trade agreement. The containers filled with electronics, work boots, hard hats and some baby and beauty products are destined for Kenya and Ghana. Ntokozo Khumalo caught up with the African Continental Free Trade Area's Secretary General Wamkele Mene at the launch.
2 ships left the Durban port filled with South African products heading to Kenya and Accra, and that's South Africa had that first shipment under the Continental Free Trade Area Agreement preferential trade. And to give us some more details around that is the Secretary General Wamkele Mene. Thank you so much for talking to us. Now, it's been a busy 2 days for you. Yes. You started off with the ministers' meeting. Talk us through some of the outcomes from that meeting this year.
Well, yesterday we had a session of the Ministers of Trade, the Council of Ministers of Trade, and there were 2 key topics on the agenda. One is digital trade. They negotiated last-minute provisions of the Protocol on Digital Trade, which has now been adopted and is being sent to the Assembly of Heads of States and Government for its adoption. A very important legal instrument that enables digital trade on the African continent to harness the skills and innovation and digital infrastructure investment. The second important outcome was the Protocol on Women and Youth in Trade, which was also adopted by the Ministers of Trade and will also be presented to the Assembly of Heads of States and Government when they convene next month. So, very important outcomes here in Durban. The Ministers of Trade are committed to ensuring that we accelerate the implementation of the AfCFTA. And then, of course, today here, as you saw with the President and the Ministers of Trade of the African continent, seeing off the shipment of manufactured goods that are going from South Africa to Kenya and to Ghana, and we hope there will be more of those exports that will take place.
What is the progress that we're making there when it comes to bringing in women and youth to benefit from this agreement?
Well, you know, for the very first time in the history of international trade agreements and how they are negotiated, the very first time the African continent is going to have legally binding commitments for creating youth empowerment and women empowerment of SMEs empowerment of SMEs that are owned by women. So this is historic. It is unprecedented that we have a legally binding instrument that codifies our aspirations for youth empowerment, for women empowerment, that codifies them into law. It has not happened before. Other parts of the world have tried it but did not succeed. So it is, we want to make sure in the implementation of the Protocol on Women and Youth in Trade that opportunities, real commercially meaningful opportunities, are created through supplier development schemes with larger corporations and enabling smaller corporations to be part of the value chains.
And now we are preparing for the business forum, the After Business Forum, where you will be engaging with that private sector. Could you maybe just give us a taste of what we expect to be on the agenda? We are in discussions with the government of Rwanda about the precise date of the business forum, Biashara Africa. We know it will be in October. We will be following up on the dialogue from last year. If you recall, last year there were a number of commitments that were made, particularly in the area of pharmaceuticals, about how pharmaceutical companies can increase local production through supplier development schemes and ensuring that they source locally. So in the intervening period, since Cape Town last year, there has been much progress made. So we'll take stock of that. We will take stock, of course, of progress in the automotive sector and how the automotive sector also has to play a role in inclusive growth, not only in country, but inclusive growth across African countries and building
the capacity of Africa to produce and assemble vehicles for herself on the African continent. So the Business Forum will be really a stock-taking exercise. And as we said before, we are not trying to be the World Economic Forum. We're not trying to be exclusive to CEOs. We want SMEs. We want young entrepreneurs. We want the most important drivers of Africa's economy to be part of the conversation and solutions for implementation of the AfCFTA.
Mr. Wamkele Mene, thank you so much for those insights. For Newzroom Afrika, I'm Ntokozo Khumalo in Durban.